What's up? What's up? How's it going, friends? Good to see you guys. Happy Wednesday. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Hello, hello. So here we are on a glorious Wednesday eve on the East Coast of the United States of America, thinking about concepts, topics, things of value. Let's discuss one of my favorite things that I've been playing with for a couple years now. I want to start by about talking about this topic by sort of sharing a personal kind of like how I got into being aware of this topic and why, because I think it's something that's probably pretty relatable to folks like y'all who come to talk about spiritual stuff or who see an energy healer, like anybody doing this kind of work, and people who are interested in, consciousness and awakening and spiritual light and other dimensional realms tend to be people who run into this particular kind of question and challenge. So I think my story about it will probably be relatable. So when I started doing energy work, um, to heal my trauma back when I went to the Sufi healing school. To be fair, I had started doing energy work long before Sufi school, but it was in Sufi school that I got really like deep in, and the energy work started to consistently heal me in a very real, consistent way, where I wasn't just like working with this one healer. Like for a while I was seeing this like Christian mystic in the mountains of Grass Valley, and then for a while I worked with a shaman, and then for a while I was doing kundalini, and then I was like bouncing around trying to find something that I could commit to that would like heal my shit, frankly. And it was when, for me, that the thing that really was the linchpin of the whole situation was finding the Sufi healing school that I wound up going to, that was in the hills of Napa Valley, in a little town called St. Helena. It was called the University of Spiritual Healing and Sufism. It's now called a different thing, and it's a bit of a different situation now. But anyway, um, when I was there, I learned this concept, and I had heard it before then. But the concept I learned was everything, and we've talked about this before in Katie Church, that everything outside of you, right, is a reflection of something going on internally. And I shared the story a couple weeks ago in here about one of my teachers at the time used this very specific example of like, if the left front light of your car is out, you can be assured that something in the left front side of your electrical system is weird inside your own body. That's how much of a mirror reality is to what's going on for you. So that tool was very helpful for me because it started to explain a lot of things that were happening in my life. For example, I kept attracting romantically very toxic, entity-ridden, self-hating, alcoholic, self-harming, emotionally unavailable men into my dating life. And I knew better, and I had done many 12-step, fourth-step inventories, and I had looked at my patterns in therapy, and I understood it wasn't what I wanted, so I couldn't understand why they kept showing up. And I kept having to send them away and send them away, and it was such an undertaking. Well, when I understood this idea at the Sufi school that, okay, I am carrying some kind of vibrational frequency. And in my case, it was the frequency of sexual abuse trauma, and also the trauma of like a lot of abandonment from my dad and a lot of judgment from my mom, and just not a lot of great frequencies from the childhood parenting dynamic. I understood that's why these people are drawn to me, because I am a vibrational match to their frequency. So that made a ton of sense to me. So I used that awareness. I chose very consciously to not judge myself for being a vibrational match to toxic men. By the way, hear me loud and clear. That's why I'm leaning in. I'm leaning in, everybody, because this is an important point. It's You can't go to the place where you say, "Oh, I'm a vibrational match to trauma. What a loser. I'm such a terrible piece of shit." No, that's just going to slow down your journey. Instead, what you want to do is go, okay, what inside of me that I'm carrying is a vibrational match to this? And you can go to work clearing, healing, integrating, processing, releasing, whatever needs to happen to that thing, that stuck energy inside of you that is a vibrational match to the trauma. Now, here's where people get in trouble is Once you understand that concept and you start to see the truth of it, like maybe you realize like, oh, fuck, all these toxic people are showing up in my life because a part of me is carrying toxic energy and they're a match to each other. Um, you go to work healing the part of you that is carrying the toxic energy so that that doesn't show up anymore. But let's say you're experiencing, so my point being, you start to have proof and evidence that this is true, right? This concept is a real concept, that the law of attraction or the law of mirroring is real. Okay, so you start to believe in it. Now what people will do, who are people who are prone to self judgment, self criticism, being harsh with oneself, which is all of you, by the way, um, because narcissists don't tend to show up for healing class, or when they do show up for healing class, they show up for short stints and then they run away, or they become so toxic that I make them go bye bye. So they don't stick around. They're not you guys. So anybody sensitive, empathic, spiritual enough to be doing stuff like what you guys are doing is more likely to be someone who's going to lean in the direction of self-flagellation rather than other flagellation. Although who knows, it's all a complex dynamic and each individual is different, as you know. Point being, because we tend to be self-hating and because we have trauma from the past and because we're habituated to the positive side of looking at what is my part in this? What did I do to create this? How am I an energetic match to this? What we don't understand is that sometimes things that show up in your reality have nothing to do with being an energetic match to anything you're carrying. Sometimes things show up in your life given by the universe just to give you a sense of contrast, which is to say, um, you might, I don't know, let me think of an example that would be practical and useful. I don't know, you might go to the laundromat, right? Let's go with dry cleaner. You might go to the dry cleaners, and every time you go in there, the lady who runs the dry cleaning place is rude to you. So you might start to think like, how am I a vibrational match to rudeness? What am I doing or being that's, oh my God, here she comes, the bullet, the bullet, the bullet is back. She's here, everybody. The healing can begin. Thank you. Squeezel's dog walker just brought her back. She's back. Let's show your face to the people. If you're going to make an entrance like that, you have to say hello. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm a little dog. I was outside and there was people and now I'm back. This is what I deal with. I love you so much. Welcome back. Okay. So you might create a narrative for yourself that says like, I am a vibrational match to rude ladies at the dry cleaner. Otherwise this wouldn't be happening. Maybe. Or perhaps the universe is showing you something by way of contrast. Bye, Squeezel. Which is to say, the universe might just be saying to you, is this the kind of dry cleaner you prefer, Katie Rubin? Or would you prefer a dry cleaner who is nice to you? Another example, I'm going to come up with a couple more examples, and then I'm going to talk about how to know the difference between the two types. When are you a vibrational match to something? And when is this the universe showing you something by way of contrast? Okay. Let's say you start dating someone and you like them a lot and you're having a lot of fun. And a couple weeks in, you start to realize, wow, this person has, I don't know, this person's really, let's say I'll make something up. This person's really amped up and their energy is always really high. They're really amped up and they're really fun and smart and sexy and we're vibing in all these ways, but their energy is so amped up that I can never really calm down around them. And you start to notice, I feel better when I can calm down around my person. I don't want to feel amped up all the time. Eventually things fall apart. You break up with this person. Now, instead of saying to yourself, how was I a vibrational match to amped up? You could say to yourself, what have I learned by contrast about what I'm looking for in relationship, in romantic, relationship? You might have discovered through the contrast of that person's amped upness that you're looking for the opposite of that in a romantic relationship. You're looking for somebody who can chill. Maybe you want some amped and some chill, but like more chill than amped. But you really wouldn't have been exactly sure that that's what you wanted until you dated amped. Is this making sense? People understanding what I'm talking about with contrast here? The universe will put things in front of you that are not the thing you desire. And that's not always because you are carrying something that is attracting that in. You may be carrying something, AKA your true desire, that is a bit buried to you or from you, such that the universe, being all merciful and benevolent the way that it is like, okay, this bitch needs a little bit of a wake up call on this topic. Let me give her not what she's looking for in a way that hooks her a little bit so that she'll engage with it. And then by engaging with it, we'll realize, oh shit, that's not what I want exactly. What I actually want is somebody I can have a chill dinner with and not feel amped up by all the time. So those are just a couple made up examples of like how this kind of contrast thing could show up for you. I'll give you just a couple more. One more. I'll give you one more. Let's say you're trying to buy a car and you start going to a bunch of different car dealerships. And for a bunch of weeks, you go to car dealerships and you're like, this one is too fucking big and that one's too expensive. And this one has a V6 engine, but it doesn't have the uppy downy window thing I want. And this one has the seats that do the thing, but they don't have the warming. And weeks go by and you're going, what am I doing wrong that's creating me showing up and getting all the wrong cars? How am I a vibrational match to wrong carness? What in me is attracting wrong cars? Okay, you could ask that. But you might ask, what am I seeing in each of these cars that is teaching me through contrast what I actually desire? Perhaps all of the cars are the incorrect car because the universe is trying to show you the exact right car that you actually desire exactly for yourself. That's how it works. So rather than getting impatient with the universe's terms, we often get very impatient with the universe's terms. Have you noticed? Where we go like, I want the car now. So I'm going to pick one that I'm not that excited about. I'm just going to take this one because it's here or whatever your version of that is. Or sometimes what we'll do is we judge ourselves so harshly for not finding the thing we're looking for that we take what's sitting in front of us just to prove, from probably an open ego place, just to prove to ourselves, that was a human design reference, by the way, just to prove to ourselves that we're not so fucked up and crazy that we can't find a car. But that is very fallacious spiritual thinking. So let me make sure you got that last one because there's a little subtlety in there. Okay, come on up, beast. Let's go. There you go. If you're looking for a car and each one you find has something that you're like, no, rather than beating yourself up about being particular about what kind of car you want, why am I so picky? Why do I have so many demands? Why do I want it to be one way and not the other way? Because you fucking do, is the answer. The other part of the answer is you were made a certain way, perfectly in the eyes of the divine and in the eyes of the universe, such that you have the desires you have and you have the non-desires that you don't have. I like the saying, God doesn't make mistakes. You're not so fucked up and wrong. You just want what you want and don't want what you don't want. So if you're going for cars for a long time and you can't find one and your friends start to go, you haven't found a car yet? And your mom's like, didn't you say you were getting a car? Why do you not have a car? And you start to feel people's judgment and their impatience. And particularly if you happen to have an open ego in human design, you might find yourself, from the not self positioning of the open ego, trying to prove that you have value and worth to all the people that are judging you by just picking a car already, right? You're feeling their pressure. This happens a lot in families where families are like, how are you not married yet? Get married so I get to have a grandchild, or so I get to feel like somebody in society whose daughter or son or non-binary child has a partner and a kid. I, the parent of this adult child, want to feel, quote, normal and like I fit into the world. So I'm pressuring you, my adult child, to like get your shit together, aka do the things society says that makes you normal, so that I, selfishly, the parent, can feel good about myself and feel like I fit into this world. So then you might make a rash decision about a partner choice. You might marry somebody who's like, okay, but you're not that into them. Or they're okay, but you don't have that much in common, or whatever, just to like solve the social problem of getting married already and making a baby person with your body parts. That would be like an extreme example of this thing we're talking about, where you live into the pressure given by others so as to prove your value and worth. Of course, in the end, we know it doesn't prove your value and worth. And in fact, it does the opposite of that. It makes you feel valueless and worthless. Why? Because you didn't listen to your true self. You didn't wait for the car you actually desire. You settled for the car in front of you. You didn't wait for the husband or the wife or the partner who was correct for you. You settled for what was in front of you, what was good enough for now, as opposed to waiting for what you actually desire, what you actually require, and what you actually deserve. What do we each deserve? We deserve what we desire. We deserve to have what we're actually truly drawn toward. If you have sacral authority, you deserve to have what your energy says to, and nothing else. If you're emotionally defined, you deserve to have the thing that after you ride that emotional wave and come to a neutral yes, that thing is what you deserve. You get the point I'm making. So back to the topic at hand, which is um, contrast. Okay. Don't assume that because things that aren't what you prefer are showing up in your reality is necessarily showing up in your reality because it's a vibrational match to something you're carrying in your soul, heart, body, mind, spirit. It may be. It may be. It may really be that, but maybe not. So let's talk about how do you know the difference, right? How can you tell when it's one or the other? Well, one nice way is develop a really strong connection to the divine or God or conscious awareness so that you can ask the universe yeses and nos and get clear psychic responses. I find that to be very effective. But I went to 3 healing schools and this was my whole goal in life. So that's I'm a weird lady and I have that ability now. That's not everybody's life purpose, right? So you may not have time, energy, or desire to focus on building a strong yes and no inside yourself. But that is one really great way to go. Another way to go is follow your strategy and authority if you're into human design. That's the short answer. But the third way to go is this. Notice when the thing that is showing up that isn't what you desire happens repeatedly over and over again and in a way that causes you actual emotional or physical pain or suffering of some kind. So I'll give you an example. So back to our going to the dry cleaners example. If I go in and that lady's rude and I'm kind of like, what a weird, rude lady. Oh, well, that's not causing me a lot of suffering. Okay. But if every store I go into everywhere, everyone is rude and I leave every store I go into feeling like ass and feeling emotionally beat the fuck up and feeling like, why is everyone attacking me? And then I'm crying in my car. That chances are good is because there is a vibrational match somewhere in my being to that behavior. Now, the vibrational match could be in the form of I have such a low self concept that I'm attracting people who reflect to me my low self concept. That can be the shape that that particular mirroring takes in the universe. Or it could be as weird, it's going to get weird now, surprise, surprise. It could be as weird and strange and other dimensional as I'm carrying a flock of demons and entities in my body who are a vibrational match to shitty behavior. Do you know that demonic energies and entity invasion-y energies, that has nothing to do with who you are. They're other beings that attach to our wounding and our trauma. That's, by the way, what they attach to. They attach to the frequency of drugs, dissociation, and trauma, all of which can be related to one another and or not. So whatever trauma you have, until it's healed, it can attract to it the way that that an open sore on your arm would attract flies eventually. Sorry to be gross, but it's true. If you leave a sore just gaping on your arm and you're bleeding and it's gross, flies come to that shit because flies are gross. And flies like to sit on things that stink and fester and rot. Similarly, demons, darkness, like anti-light and entities, certain frequencies of entities, not all of them, are drawn to the frequency of a wound, an emotional wound on your heart or your soul. So that's why it also becomes really important to really do your energy healing work, do your spiritual work, do your therapy work, because every wound that remains an open and festering is saying to all passing entities in all dimensional realities of consciousness, not just this one, by the way, come over here. I'm all gross and in pain. Sit on top of me and feed off of me. And then they do. It's like a neon sign that raises out of your body that says, come this way. And they do. So how do you know when it's a vibrational match issue and when it's like, I'm just being shown something through contrast? How much pain is it causing you? And how repetitive is the pattern? If you're seeing something for the first time ever and you're like, oh, I don't want that, all you have to do with that is go, I choose not that, and turn away from it and stop engaging with it already. I can't tell you how many of my clients spend so much time and energy engaging with shit that they don't want. People are like, this client of mine is really terrible and she's a narcissist and she calls me all the time and she blames me for stuff. And it's like, don't engage with her. Don't stop it. Or my husband always does this and he always says that, or my mom is abusive of me and calls me all the time, but she's my mom, so I have to stay in relationship to her. And they torture themselves thinking like, what have I done to create this? What am I doing to call this into my reality? What you're doing is choosing something shitty. So stop it. It can be very simple. Stop it. Now, if it's repetitive and it keeps happening, and even when you try to stop it, see, I'm leaning in again. This is important. Here's the key information when I lean in. Even when you try to stop it, you can't stop it. You're conscious of it. You're making new choices. You're going to a new laundromat. And still, everywhere you go, everyone you fucking interact with is terrible to you. Now you can be pretty sure that you're carrying something that is a vibrational match to that kind of mistreatment. So the short answer is, how repetitive is the pattern? If it's all the time and or often or regular, and you've consciously become aware of it and still can't stop it, that may be a case where you need to move the energy of something inside of yourself out of you and or transmute the energy of something inside of you into light so that you don't continue to attract or call towards you all this dark, icky density energy. Yeah, that's the deal. So let's hear from you guys a little bit on this. Does anyone have an insight about something recently where that you're realizing right now, or that you've realized before? Oh, that was a contrast example, and I can just choose not that next time. Let's hear some examples from you guys in the chat, and or please, any questions you have where you're unsure about, is this a vibrational match issue or is this a contrast that I'm being offered? Let's throw some of those in the chat and hear you guys' thoughts. And like I say all the time in every class and in every Katie church, please, when you post and when you share your questions and your vulnerability, you give everybody else the opportunity to learn from the conversation we will have about that question. So it's not self-centered to ask a question. It's actually quite generous and vulnerable to ask a question. So throw them up in the old chat, my friends. What clarifications do you need on this topic? What are some examples of where you've experienced this recently? Nicole Abbott. What's up, Nicole? My last job in Alaska. Okay, cool. I'm going to need you to say a lot more about that. What was it, contrast, or was it a vibrational match to something internal? Or are you unsure? Let me know, because I don't know what you mean. What else? You just clarified it. Oh, good. Well, there you go. Boom. Look at me being so efficient. I'm ahead of my own answers. That's great. Contrast. Okay, cool. You sound really clear. You sound really clear, Nicole. That's great. It's so nice to see you, by the way. Welcome. I'm happy to have you here. I don't see you, but you know what I mean. Who else has an example of, and actually, if you felt like clarifying and sharing with the group, Nicole, like what you mean, I'd love for other people to hear your version of that example. So please feel free to put in the chat, like, what happened with the job? How do you know it's contrast? Like, what did you tell us more? Ben says, hey, Ben, I had someone come and go into my life that had large control issues. Hearing you today, I think it's a contrast to what I used to be or attract. But now I'm not that. And while I felt the icky for a while, it moved through quickly, which was way different than the past. Okay. So what we would call that is if you were a control freak at the time and you were attracting other control freaks, that was an example of the vibrational match, right? You were that. So the universe was like, is this really what you want to be, home slice? But now that you're not that, I think is what you're saying. You got shown something as a contrast to be like, yeah, I don't want that. I am definitely not choosing that. I think that's what you're saying. Let me know if I'm missing any of that. But yeah, great example. Nicole says, "It was chaos and drama, and all of my being was like, nope." Okay, yeah, boy, that really reads when you say that. Did you end up leaving, Nicole? Did you leave early? I'll be excited for you if you did. Cool. Other examples, other questions that people have about this. Please feel free to be specific if you like. Hey, as you could say right now, is this thing that I'm going through an example of that? Please post it in the chat. You did. Okay, good for you. Look at you knowing what's what. That's the best. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. Okay, Rahima says, one of my housemates has a very smelly room. That's great. It's funny because it's a funny sentence. Every time their door is open and I pass by, I need to hold my breath. Yuck. I think this is contrast. I haven't had the courage to tell this person because I'm afraid of the backlash, but I haven't found a new home yet. Got it. My first question about this one is, are there other problems with this person, or is it just the one problem of the smelly room? So before I can say anything about it, I think I need more information. Are there other problems or just that one problem? In the meantime, I'll respond to Ben. Yes, totally shown to me now to show me my growth. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I really relate to that. I have a lot of things that show up like that too, where they show up in my field and I go, God, thank God I did that work that makes me not be that thing. Thank God. And blessings and light and peace to this person who's still working with this thing. Because really, it's hard to work with things. Okay, somebody Brown. I don't want to mispronounce your Brown. But your name, I mean. I'm going to try. Abia Genesis. How did I do? Hi, I left a relationship a while ago. It was a contrast, and the lesson was learning what I didn't want and said so. Rock on. That's the business. Boomski, boomski. I went through something similar recently too, where there was like a subtle thing where I was like, oh, definitely don't want that. I'm gonna have to say bye. Bye. I hear you. Rahima, okay, Ben, in the past I would have obsessed over the conflict. Sure, absolutely. Oh, good. I'm glad I did your name well. Abia Genesis. I hope you'll correct me if I'm missing anything there. Excellent, you guys. Yeah. So Rahima, say more to me about, if you're up for it, of course, are there other problems with the roommate or just the one? Because it's interesting when I feel into it. One of my housemates has a smelly room. Every time their door is open, I pass by, I need to hold my breath. I think this is contrast. I get to know that it's contrast, but not in the way you might think. Like, I don't think the other thing is, let's dive into this. I haven't had the courage to tell this person because afraid of the backlash, but I haven't found a new home yet. Smelly room is the biggest problem, but they're also quite an intense person and the owner of the house. I see. My room is a beautiful peace haven, but the house is not ideal atmosphere. Yeah. Okay, that's a yes. So is the entire house the contrast? No. Is this a vibrational match in some way? Yes. Okay, let me sit with this, Rahima. Okay. I think this is a vibrational match to particular frequencies of trauma, particular aggressive, hyper toxically masculine energies that through no fault of your own were imprinted and implanted into your field and are being reflected back to you through this person's entire energy, and the smell, all of it is a reflection of one of those things that we've been working on. You're working so beautifully, so diligently on this already. So there's no need to panic or freak out. It's like, we're just going to keep working on it. But what I like about this is you're being given, see here, you guys, this is where it gets really exciting and interesting to me. And this is where, of course, Rahima has an opportunity to judge herself or not. She could go like, why am I still a vibration? How can I still be a vibrational man? Or not. Or we can go, all right, trauma occurred. There's some kind of frequency in here that is pulling more of this to me. Let's get at it. Let's process it. Now, this one in particular has like a kind of, okay, I'm glad it feels true. That's good. This frequency has a real like toxic invasion kind of energy. Like this is an energy coming into my field that I didn't ask for. And that fits thematically with what we've been working on with you. So it makes a ton of sense to me. So that's thank you for sharing that example because you guys look how that example could seem very obviously. I'm so glad you're not judging yourself. Alhamdulillah. My pleasure, my love. I'm just so glad. Okay, that's so good to hear. This is an example, you guys, of a place where it would be easy to think it is contrast, right? Because it's like just a one guy and it's outside of her and it's over there. It'd be easy to be like, nah, it's just contrast or whatever. But in this case, I had to ask questions. I had to perceive the energy. I had to sit with it. And that's how we gain the insight. Okay, Ross is here. What's up, Ross? Okay, let's see. I tend to use food emotionally. I wish I knew what you meant. If only I could relate to that. And Sunday last, I felt like just eating all the things, but I knew it wouldn't fill me the way I needed. So I just went home and ate a lot of nuts. Haha, indeed. Gotta get that magnesium somehow. You're so funny. It was also Father's Day, and that brought up some unexpected things, but it was nice to make an alternative choice. Well, cool. So what is this an example of in terms of what we're talking about? Like, how does this relate to contrast or vibrational match? Help me know what you mean by that, Russ, because I would like to understand. Please type more words, in other words. Margaret says, and I'll come back to them. Am I providing the contrast for me? Am I providing the contrast for me? Oh, I see. In the same way as I provide the vibrational match to all things. As in, is it all me or is there more of an external universal offering? It's the second thing. It's not all you. Okay. And of course, there's a paradox here as well. So it's yes and, I guess, is how I might say that. You are not providing the contrast for you in the sense that, think of it this way. Okay. If imagine that you are, this is such a fun question. Thank you for this, Margaret. Imagine that you are a film projector. You are a projector. You know, like you go to the movies and the light hits the screen. And then the screen shows you what is in the light. Right? So the screen is projecting something onto, I'm sorry, the machine, the projector, is projecting images onto a screen, which is then reflecting back to your eye holes what was in the machine in the first place. So you are the film projector. The universe is the screen. And it's going, do you see? Do you see what you're putting out? Do you see? So in the sense that, like in the big picture sense, everything is just one thing. All there really is oneness. So in that sense, you are the screen and you are the projector. But we don't live in a realm of oneness. We live in a realm of duality. So in our realm, here in the 3D realm on Earth, where you're over there and I'm over here and the dog is different from the chair and the chair is not the ceiling, in that reality where we all fucking live right now, because we chose to, because we're weirdos, you are the projector and the universe is the screen. Without the screen, it's very hard to see what you're projecting. How do you watch a movie if you like project a movie just into the air, you can't, you have no idea what the movie is. So you need a flat white surface. Did that help, Margaret? And let me know if that's answering the question. So yes, there is an external universal response to what you are putting out. And the universe is literally just a mirror of your inner reality. So what you're putting out, it shows you back in some way or another. Or what you're wanting to put out, it shows you through contrast, what you have or don't have. Let me know if you need more on that, if I've missed anything. Oh, what a great question, though. I love that. Oh, following up on Ross's, and then I'll go back to you, Cindy. I don't know. I just wanted to share. You're adorable. I would say I noticed a thing that showed up again that has shown up previously over and over. And instead of mindlessly eating, albeit somewhat mindfully, I did something different. Oh, that's great. So you made a new choice. Rock and roll. I love that. This, though, is, in case you're curious, an example of the behavior, the food behavior is a vibrational match to a belief or a stuck energy or a something inside of you. So this is not an example of contrast. This is an example of vibrational match, in case that's helpful to you, Ross. And food stuff, 9 times out of 10, okay, food stuff is often about boundaries being broken and injured in a young age in childhood, sexual abuse or inappropriate sexual behavior, mom, or saying no, like learning how to say no instead of saying yes all the time. Like owning where is the no, where is the need for the boundary, mom or sexual abuse or control issues, which 9 times out of 10 have to do with mom or sexual abuse. Hate to break it to all of us, but when it's related to food. So you could look in those arenas if you're looking for the source of like, what is the stuck energy here? Or what is the belief? Or what is the pattern? Or what is the frequency, etc. Those are great places to dig on that topic. So thank you for sharing that, Citron. Okay, and then Cindy had a thing. I've begun to realize the same type of person kept showing up as friends, but then they would get upset and leave. And I realized that it was a lesson of what I no longer want. Yes, correct. Were you attracting that? No. Good job. Paul Anderson says, hey, Katie. Hey, Paul. What else you got, Paul? Do you have an example of this or anything you want to ask about? Welcome here. Happy to have you. Okay, good, Margaret. I'm glad that's helpful. Hooray. Awesome. Doc Bill says, I seem to have an aversion to people who express a lot of drama or intensity. Oh, Bill, you're delightful. You're so delightful. Am I denying that I express drama and intensity? Or do I simply want to be with resonant, calming energy people? I just adore you so much. Yes and yes. So I think both things are true. In other words, there is a very big, strong, intense, loud, aggressive, sometimes dramatic energy that you bring in the way you express verbally. So when people show you that part of yourself that you have judged as bad and wrong, and that is in the shadow of your consciousness so far that you don't even know you're carrying it. That's usually how shadow pieces work, by the way. You don't even know you're carrying it until people show up in your life and mirror it back to you. And you go, I hate that energy. And then you go, oh, fuck. Because by the way, for everybody's benefit, 9 times out of 10, if you hate that energy, you have that energy. There's a 12-step saying they go 1 finger out, 3 fingers back. Because if I'm going like this, I hate that. I am pointing at me with these 3 here. So anyway, I think that like when I feel into it, you are definitely carrying in the shadow aspect of consciousness energies that you are being reflected back to you in the form of those dramatic people. So the question then might become, and also, yes, you want calming, resonant energy people, but first you'll want to work with the shadow. Yeah, spot it, you got it. Exactly what Paul said. If you spot it, you got it. It's a pretty good one. It's a little oversimplified to our point today, but it's a pretty decent little rhymey thing. What are those called? What's it called when you have a little rhymey thing that not a jingle, but I can't think of it. I don't know if you can think of it. Tell me in the chat. So yes, you also want to be with resonant, calming energy people, but you're going to need to work with your shadow energy first. In other words, it's going to be hard to pull resonant energy, calming people in when you're in resistance to your own bigness, intensity, drama. And I know you're in resistance to it because you're not aware you have it, or you're somewhat aware of the possibility because you asked the question. So you said, am I denying that I express it or that I have it? So you know enough to ask. So yes is the answer, not just from me and my personal experience, Bill, but it's what's reading. And so a smart thing to do is to work with the shadow energy. So you've got to find in yourself where you're dramatic and intense. Be with that dramatic and intenseness until it transmutes into, let me get the words for this, the correct form of dramatic and intensity, drama and intensity that your soul is meant to embody in this lifetime. So what do I mean by that? When you're working with a shadow energy, AKA an energy that has been pushed into the recesses of your consciousness because you don't want to identify as that thing, you, by the way, being anyone, all of us here, when we are working with our shadow energies, we want to, let me say it like this. Sometimes energies that are pushed into the shadow of our unconscious mind are pushed there because they're carrying a frequency of so much toxicity and trauma that they really are icky and dense, and we don't want them near us because they're really carrying a frequency that's icky and dense and hard to be with, even for ourselves. Other times, when we push an energy into the shadow aspect of our consciousness or our subconscious mind, or we just push it away from ourselves, we do that simply because we are in judgment of that energy. But that is two different things. Sometimes we push things away because the energy is so hard to be with, even for ourselves, we just can't be with it. That's something you really want to heal and process and integrate and move through. Send it to the light, process it, whatever. But these examples over here, where it's just something you're in judgment of, what you want to do then is process the judgment. Grieve the moment in time when you bought the lie that you have to judge the drama and intensity of you. I am full of drama and intensity, and boy, do I love it now, but I sure didn't always. But you know what I don't love? A particular kind of drama and intensity that I used to embody that really had trauma attached to it. Because the trauma that was attached to it, it attracted all these entities to it. So there was underneath the core drama and intensity of me with a broken open with a wound, and then all the judgment on top of it, and then all the entities and stuff on top of it, and then the trauma on top of it. So it was just a big jumbled mess that was hard to love. How can you love a part of yourself that's like covered in hate and spiky fire energies that are trying to fuck with you all day? This is where energy healing, it's why I love spiritual divine light energy healing, because I don't know how you get the frequency of trauma and specifically demons, entities, shaitan, darkness. I don't know how you get that out of your system in therapy just by talking. I bet some people can. I couldn't. It didn't work for me, and I did it for so many years. And I've seen a lot of people who go to therapy a long time who come out very understanding mentally, but not free of anything, or not free of all things. They're free of a bunch of things because therapy's great, truly. But there's certain things you can't get free of without the light. You just can't. It's just how it is. So back to shadow things we push into the unconscious. Sometimes we do it because it's just so painful because it's covered in trauma and entities and ickiness, and it's hard. So you need somebody to help you get in there and transmute all that. And sometimes we're just in judgment of an aspect of self. So we need to work with the judgment and reintegrate the part who felt it had to judge. Okay, I hope that makes sense, Bill. I increasingly recognize the drama and intensity in myself, much more at ease about everything now. Great. I'm talking about drama that people want you to empathize with, buy into. Yeah, you're very good at doing that. You're also pretty good at the opposite of that, for whatever that's worth to you. Let me know if you have other questions. Like, you're good at wanting me to buy into the drama and empathize with it. But you're also good at being like, I'm not going to do that. You know, I'm okay, I'll drop it. So I would say that you have both of the sides of that polarity active in your consciousness. And that's why that's being shown to you. That is a vibrational match to something you carry. Deirdre Duff Allen, hello, friendy friend. What is the frequency match of ill health and poverty for me? I get a no on the question, so let's come back to that. No matter what I choose, my situation is the same. Even writing this, I feel it's not true, yet I'll attract more of it. What's the choice I can choose to attract abundance, health, wealth? There's so much that is self-critical in that question, I can't even there's no way to answer the question because the question is steeped in self-judgment. So what I would say is all you need and we talked about this in class, all you need to work on is your judgment of self. Everything you're attracting into your life is a vibrational match to your self-judgment. This is what we got clear on in class, remember? You're asking me the same question that we already got clear on. No offense, but that's what's happening now. And I get that your mind is looking for a different answer, but it's actually quite simple. You've got to fall in love with being a manifester and having ego authority, which is quite an undertaking to do. I am not going to argue with you that that's work. I had to fall in love with some really weird shit about myself. I'm a big fat weirdo. Everything about me is weird in this world. Come on. You got to fall in love with it though. Otherwise, what's happening is the universe is giving you the vibrational match to I hate myself and I reject myself. Actually, that reads better than hate. I reject myself. So let's sit with the energy of I reject myself and process that out of your system and bring a ton of light to that, Deirdre. And then you're not going to see people rejecting you so much. Does that make sense? Do you have follow-up questions? Please say more to me about this if you need to. I hope that's helpful. Because everything else in that question is like convoluted mental ways of asking the same thing that puts you at fault. Yes, the mind can't sort it out fast enough. I don't know what that means, but yeah. The mind can't sort it out fast enough. The mind can't sort anything out. The mind, by the way, everybody, can't heal anything. This is why, think and grow rich, thoughts become things, vision board, manifest your blah. None of it comes true if you don't believe it in your heart. And your heart is not your mind. People think they can change their thoughts and their world will change. Sort of. And yes, you need to, excuse me, manage your thoughts. Mostly because your thoughts will really drive you into a dark place. And also because you are not your thoughts. You guys know this, right? That you're not your thoughts. You are that which watches your thoughts. You are that which is aware of your thoughts. But you are not your thoughts. Thoughts are noises that pass through the screen of your mind. You are the witnessing eye that experiences or watches those thoughts pass. How did I get on that? Somebody said something. Oh, Deirdre, the mind can't sort it out fast enough. I'm not sure I know what you mean by that, but also yes. In other words, what I would say more usefully, Deirdre, is this is an issue that has to be healed and transmuted, specifically in your case, in the womb, the feminine organs, and in the heart. And once it changes there, your mind will be different around it. And it will be easier to manage yourself from the mind once the heart and the womb are different about it. So let's get busy doing that in class. I'm very excited about that because that feels really clear to me. For a minute, I was really confused about how we were going to work with you from one of our sessions, but then it became quite clear. Okay, Margaret, is it the same with positive aspects of life? Some are a vibrational match, yes, and some are a gift from universe, yes. Yes, and yes. Anything else on that? No. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any other words coming to me about that. Hi, Tana, you're here. Rahima, follow up. Is it possible to fully heal while still in this house with the person? Oh boy, what a great question. No. And I'll say more about why in a second. Or would it be more helpful to put more effort into finding a new home? That's also a no, which is interesting. I've been too tired from school to search. That's a yes. Let me sit with this. So she can't fully heal. Okay, so it's like this. Be there as long as you need to, out of necessity because of school, and know that according to the universe or God, you are not required to fully heal everything right now. Nor could you if you tried. So heal what you can while you're there because you don't have the energy to find another place. And when you do have the energy to find another place, then you'll go there and then you'll be able to fully heal. That's like real clear over here. I hope that's useful. Let me know if you have more on that, Rahima. So glad that's useful, Deirdre. Yay. Cool. Rock on. Jacqueline Holbrook says, seems like things are always happening with our house and cars. My husband and I can never get ahead financially. Like this past weekend, we had a car accident. No serious injuries, thank God. Is this a frequency match? Yes. For either my husband or I, yes, or something else. No, this is a frequency match for sure. Now, you guys, part of it is notice what I was talking about before. She says, seems like things are always happening with our house and cars. And we can never get it. We can never get ahead. That's repetitive. And they're trying stuff to make it be different. And it's still not working. Remember, that's an indication of probably it's a vibrational match to something you're carrying. So is it your husband? Is it you? Is it both of you? I think I need to know more about the situation and more about both of you. But right now, Jacqueline, I get that it's a little more you, not you're bad and wrong and you're creating terrible things because you're terrible. Just that you're carrying some old stuff that is drawing this to you. Also, I think, I also think and get that it's interesting. I wonder if you have more definition in your chart and he's more open. I don't know if you know about your guys' human design charts at all, because if that's the case, that would explain this energy I get, which is he amplifies your crazy and you're not crazy, but he amplifies your stuff. So what you're carrying, his energy field through no fault of his own and not consciously makes it bigger. So together you guys are like a big beacon of crazy so that all of it is coming to you. But remember, that's not something to judge. It's something to use as motivation to get busy detoxing, processing, clearing, integrating, healing inside yourself, which reminds me, and I'm going to post this in the chat here. This Sunday, I'm doing an hour and a half healing, 1.5 hours healing on the topic of how honoring your feelings and needs strengthens your connection to spirit. And so what we're going to do in this healing is we're going to clear all the past lives, all the karma, all the trauma, all the entities, all the demons, all the everything and anything that is making it hard for you to get your needs met and get your emotional, financial, any needs met. See, when we can't get our needs met, we actually can't, it's very hard to connect with spirit. Everywhere in your life that you are cutting off your own needs, rejecting yourself, judging yourself, is a place where spirit can't be. So this is why we're going to talk a lot about honoring our feelings and needs and how doing so makes our connection to spirit stronger. And then we're going to do a big healing to clear everything that makes it hard for you to do that. What are the energies in the way in your heart, mind, body, organism, in the way of you having an easy time honoring your own needs and feelings, loving, forgiving, and being non-judgmental of your own process? What's in the way of that? And let's remove it from your field. How did I get into that? Somebody asked something. Oh, Jacqueline, because Jacqueline, that would be a great healing for you to come to if you're able, Jacqueline, because we can dive right into the center of whatever that is that's pulling all that stuff to you. Okay. Yeah. Cindy says, I have been, and thank you for that comment and that question, because yeah, it's helpful for people to hear about. Cindy says, I've been doing a lot of research on my human design and learning my sacral authority. Listening to myself has been really enlightening over the last week and a half. Learning my channels and gates has helped me understand these patterns. Awesome. Good. I'm so happy for you, Cindy. It's the best, isn't it? Human design. I was saying to somebody in a session today, like, The reason I love it and I like to integrate it with the energy work is that it's the most holistic and comprehensive, specific and detailed system of typing people I've ever encountered. And it just keeps being true. It just keeps resonating on all levels everywhere. It's like such a specific detailed roadmap to how the body mind organism of you, the individual, functions correctly. It's incredible. It blows my mind. Rahima says, yes, thank you. I'm going to Canada for 6 weeks to be on the family farm, so some space will be good, and maybe I'll get the energy to find a new home for when I get back. Oh, I love it. I affirmed what you felt. I'm so happy to hear that, beloved. I'm so happy. Jacqueline says, understood. Thank you. I'm working on getting to know my chart and haven't dug into his yet. Yeah, but the thing I'm talking about, Jacqueline, has nothing to do with your chart. And this is a good point to make, and we can close out on this for today. The trauma we carry and the vibrational, oh, I see. You're probably referring to, I just got what you mean, Jacqueline. I apologize. You're probably talking about how I said you might be defined and he might be very open. Yeah, you're totally right. 1,000,000%. Yep. Yes. What I was going to say, in case it's relevant to anyone else on any other topic, is that trauma, conditioning, entities, demons, past life stuff, all this stuff really messes with the way the gates and channels, I should say, it messes with our ability to be in communion and in touch with the correct functioning of our gates and channels. That's what it does. So whether you have defined centers, gates, channels, open centers, no gates, no channels, whatever you have, it all can be programmed, conditioned, and fucked with so that you can't feel your connection to it with trauma, past lives, karma, entities, demons, etc. So that's not what you meant, Jacqueline, and I totally get what you meant, and yes to what you said. But that's just a little piece of info for folks in case it's relevant. You guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. I love this topic so much. And I hope you'll be merciful with yourselves about whether you're attracting something because of a vibrational match or attracting it because you're being shown with the contrast of what you don't desire. Either way, always mercy and love for the self first. And then we get busy going to work, healing and clearing and integrating the parts inside of ourselves that make it hard for us to love ourselves. That's really all we're doing on the healing path, clearing everything that makes it hard to love the self and hard to live into the correctness of the self and hard to behave the way we feel we'd like to behave in order to experience success, satisfaction, fulfillment, or whatever your design is here to experience. So I love you guys so much. Join us on Sunday again, 6 p.m. Eastern. Let me put that in the chat. To 7:30 p.m. I'm going to talk for a short time and then we're going to do a big old healing Eastern. And you can Venmo me to hold your spot. I don't have a button on the website for this one because it came to me spontaneously. So just Venmo at Katie the Rubin. This one, they had me price it kind of high-ish because I don't know why. Probably because they want specific people there. I don't know. Sometimes they're like, and this healing session will be $60. And I'm like, that's it? And they're like, yeah, bitch. And that's, so I listen. This one, they were like, we're going to crank this one up a little. Anyway, there you have it. Don't feel shame either way if you can't make it, but join us. It'll be great to have you. I love you guys so much. Take good care. Have a good night. Be well. Bye. Here's the spendthrift to you.